excellent work that we do on monitoring rivers and lakes and so on and so forth. But just to tell you a little bit about what the EPA has been doing in leading the National Waste Prevention Programme over the last 6 years or so. Wrong direction there. So I suppose just the National Waste Prevention Programme, I need hardly say in this current climate, as it were, that waste is a very important strategic issue for Ireland. The Waste Framework Directive will bring a lot of challenges to us. But actually dealing with waste and trying to reduce the amount of waste that we produce in Ireland, or indeed in any of the advanced countries, could be a challenge against climate change, because waste, and much like carbon emissions and so on, is very closely linked to the way we produce our goods and produce our services, and the way we live our lives, certainly in the current globalised environment. As Brendan O'Neill has mentioned in his talk, there's actually a very strong policy in Ireland behind prevention. It actually goes back as far as 2002, when we had Preventing and Recycling Waste Living Change. And it was very far-seeing in a way, because it described in great detail as to what Ireland should do about setting up a national waste prevention programme. The programme for government in 2007 and its update in 2009, I understand, also includes very strong provisions for waste prevention. Brendan has mentioned that the new EU Waste Framework Directive 2010, very, very strong on waste prevention. And in fact, from 2013 on, it will require every single member state to have its own national waste prevention programme. So in some ways, Ireland is actually somewhat ahead of the curve on this one so far. There's also a new draft statement of waste policy that has been issued by the Minister, and again, it's very strong on the national waste prevention programme. And it specifically cites our programme as being the vehicle, if you like, that's going to be used for waste prevention going forward. So again, very briefly, the waste prevention programme itself was set up by the Minister in 2004. A co-prevention team was set up within the EPA. People were already working on waste management. There's a National Waste Prevention Committee has been appointed by the Minister as well, as chaired by myself on behalf of the EPA, and we had our 15th meeting there in recent weeks. And I'm just preparing the 6th annual report on the work that we've been doing to date on the National Waste Prevention Programme, and some of the issues I'll describe to you here in this brief talk. Again, the stakeholders, again, if you do a map, it's pretty much everybody. You'll find yourself somewhere else on that map there. We've also recently included the EU Commission, because they've suddenly become a very big, very important stakeholder because of the new Waste Framework Directive. But pretty much we deal with everybody: enterprise agencies, use responsibility, businesses and industry, community NGOs, local authorities, all the other things that we've done for the awareness about waste, race against waste, change.ie and so on. So absolutely everybody is involved in this effort. And as I'll show you, we have projects for pretty much everybody in the audience, as it were, in terms of waste prevention. So again, I think it's important to think about the context within which we're trying to do waste prevention. We have a very open, kind of globalized world market. Products and services flow around the whole world very, very, very freely, and it makes it much more difficult then to manage or control or to reduce their impacts. Most companies have a certain amount of planned obsolescence. The products break down after a period of time. There's strong consumerism there, where there's this kind of discard culture, if you like. There's a celebrity culture, which means people don't really think too closely about what's happening to the products that they're using. The media then, obviously, and marketing approach are very aggressive, and they ask people to spend and buy more stuff, change the TV, change their cars, etc., etc. And we're going to have obviously a very severe economic recession, which also has an impact on the efforts I'm trying to make. But perhaps we're moving from an era of affluence and excess consumption during the boom, if you want to call it that, and hopefully changing to a more responsible, sustainable consumption pattern. This is all against a backdrop, obviously, of very worrying in ways, increasing evidence of global environmental deterioration. It just seems to get worse and worse out there. The more and more glaciers are melting, there's more and more nasty compounds that we found out there in the environment. We've reached peak oil, all kind of stuff. So it's a pretty worrying kind of situation that we're working on. Some research was done by the EPA under the STRIVE programme, looked at the earth share of Ireland, and essentially looking at the kind of energy equivalent of our current consumption patterns. And they extrapolated that then to show what would the impact be on the environment if everybody in the world had the same standard of living as the Irish have. And essentially they came up with the fact that we need 3 planets to support the whole world's population. So obviously our consumption is way beyond what is sustainable to the environment, so we need to do something about it. Just to ask the obvious question, where does all the waste come from? Well, I guess it comes from the economy. And this is just a very brief diagram just showing the impact of extraction, production, consumption, cycle of production for all of our goods and services. An interesting thing, this particular illustration from the European Environment Agency, it shows the environmental sphere is outside of the economic sphere, but obviously the economic sphere is having a severe impact at all stages of production and consumption on the environment. And at least some of these emissions consist of waste, and some of them are carbon, energy emissions, and so on. That's just by way of the theoretical background. This is the good old waste hierarchy up on its head again as usual, and really it's just to focus on what waste prevention is about. It's about elimination, reduction and reuse. It's not about energy recovery, recycling or any other good things. It's not recycling, as I say, it's not centralised composting, it's not energy from waste, it's not diversion from landfill, it's not anything to do with anybody else in this hall, in fact, in terms of selling products and so on. What it's actually about, and what's interesting about waste prevention is it's got very little actually to do with waste. It's got everything to do with elimination, reduction at the design phase of our products and services. It's about eco-design. It's about the reuse of materials and products where at all possible. And something that goes against the grain to some extent with a lot of companies is the repair of products for reuse. Mostly people want you just to use the thing once, then dump all the repairing. And also there's a cost involved with that, and sometimes it's going to be difficult and awkward to arrange. But prevention is also about reducing the actual hazardousness, if you like, of the products that we produce, including things like ROS, restriction hazardous substances, decapades, REACH, and so on. But companies also can design their products such that they use as little of these hazardous materials as possible. And also, really, from our perspective, we would regard waste prevention as being the conservation of all natural resources, be they materials, water, or energy. And in fact, a lot of our products actually wrap around those three resource elements. So rather than just focus purely on waste or solid waste, we look at materials, water, and energy with all of the various products that we are working on. So I guess it's common sense, waste not, one not. And really, with waste prevention, it's really about changing people's behaviour. And whether it's their behaviour at home, or at work, or in travel, or at leisure, and so on, it doesn't really matter, but it's changing people's behaviour. And in order to do that, you need a whole range of tools, such as information and awareness, which I talked about briefly earlier on with the other initiatives. You also need to provide the opportunity, motivation, and incentive to change. There are certain tools, skills, and capacities that need to be developed, and we try to do through our projects. There's feedback and reinforcement of those behaviours as well, which hopefully make them, in time, become the new behaviours as a social and economic norm. So really, I suppose the goal of the overall waste prevention programme is to try and make prevention as instinctive to people in Ireland as recycling is at the moment. Again, just in the brief time that I have, I won't have time to go through these in any huge detail, but there are website addresses there if you're interested in those, or indeed if you want to contact me to talk about any projects, you're certainly welcome to do that. I suppose some of the projects we have, there's one called the Green Business Initiative, and it's based on the website at greenbusiness.ie. The website itself has a whole range of web-based tools to do waste audits. So any organisation can use it to do a waste audit on their own organisation. They can do a water audit, water consumption. There's basic notes there as well on energy auditing as well, but we link closely then with Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland, because they're the experts on energy. This particular Green Business Initiative then also offers free on-site advice and waste audits to organisations or companies that want to have those. And I think over 100 companies have been visited to date, and in each case the green business officers that we have tried to work with the company to develop a prevention plan which enables them to reduce the amount of water, energy and waste that they're using. And in many cases companies have saved tens of thousands of euro in actually implementing these prevention plans. In the next project I just mentioned is the Green Hospitality Award, and it has a website at ghaward.ie. We have, at this point in time, we've over 85 of the top hotels in the country have Green Hospitality Awards, so they've achieved the environmental management system requirements. Some have even gone to a very high level of what we call platinum. So we started off with bronze, we have a silver, gold, and then a platinum award. And as the awards increase, the criteria get more and more strict, and it's more and more difficult for the hotel and hospitality industry to make the grade. So we've 85 that have been awarded already. There are upward of about 200 members in the scheme as well. We're all working toward getting one of these awards. And again, on the website you'll see case studies of hotels and hospitality organisations that have actually saved hundreds of thousands of euro in terms of implementing these various initiatives. Briefly, we have a packaging prevention programme as well. We're doing that with Repack, and they have a website that is Prevent and Save. And again, there's case studies there of companies in Ireland and elsewhere who have reduced the amount of packaging that they're placing on the market and save themselves a lot of money in the process. But working on a green retail pilot then with the Musgraves Group, very progressive group of companies, and that's in the early stages at the moment. Over the last 4 years, I've been working with the local authorities. We've had 17 local authorities working with us very actively on a prevention network initiative. They in turn work within their own organisations to prevent waste, and also with the local communities and local businesses. It's going well. A project we just started last year, and that's actually taken off very well, is the Green Healthcare Project. We're working with 20 of the largest hospitals in the country, and we're just in the early stages of doing the waste and particularly the water audits. But there's absolutely massive potential there to save waste, particularly with food waste. A lot of food gets wasted in hospitals. In addition to that, then, there's a lot of scope then to segregate a lot of the risk waste from the non-risk waste, and to thereby reduce the cost for the businesses. Again, a whole range of other projects, and I'd say the ones for everybody in the audience, as it were, in terms of the stakeholder map I've mentioned. We have a green home program going with Untashka. I think we've contacted and been working with upward of about 10,000 homes or households in the country at this stage. Greenhome.ie is the website that they have there. And again, a whole range of information that's available to people on how they can reduce their costs in their own homes, whether it's food waste, whether it's composting that they can do, or reduction of kind of hazardous waste, reduction of energy in terms of sustainable travel and so on. We don't fund it, but we are actually closely linking the Green Home program with the Green Schools program. The Green Schools program is maybe where in Ireland it's the most successful one in Europe. The more schools per capita in green schools in Ireland than anywhere else in Europe. We're in the early stage of working on the Green Communities project, working with Natasha again, and working with the Green Coast, Tiny Towns, a whole range of other initiatives, really trying to link all these initiatives together. And we're just starting in the very early stage of working with the Community Reuse Network in Ireland, because the Youth Waste Framework Project is very strong on reuse of products and also on preparing for reuse as a new element in the prevention. We have a Stop Food Waste project going as well, which is designed to help householders and people generally to actually stop, kind of losing waste, losing food as waste. A lot of food is wasted by people producing too much food in their kitchens, or buying too much in the shop, putting it in the freezer, and throwing it out of date, it gets thrown away. UK have done studies that have shown that about 1/3 of the usable food that we buy is actually wasted, just thrown away for various reasons. So, just very briefly, we're working on another concept in terms of waste prevention, where it's working with various festivals and events. The Green Fla, for example, in 2010 was very successful. We're currently working with the Green New Wexford Festival and Opera, and using the various other projects that we have, like Green Business, to draw in all the local businesses into this festival, and it's going to be very successful as well. We're working on the European Week for Waste Reduction. It's on the November 21st to 28th, and this is an event that's happening all throughout Europe. In Ireland, we may have up to about 30 events happening all around the country. So those are the kind of blue skies, if you want to call it, waste prevention projects that we have going. There's also the more kind of routine ones that we work on in terms of product compliance. So we do things like pumps, they persist organic pollutants, PCBs, ozone depleting substances, and so on. And they're all enforcement projects that we're working on to reduce the amount of these nasty substances that are out there in products and out in the environment. We also enforce reduced responsibility requirements on WEEE and batteries. We work on the national waste reports, which give us all a guideline as to where we're going in terms of recovery and in terms of prevention. And the National Conservation Management Plan and the National Strategy are linked closely with the prevention efforts. So I suppose just briefly then, Chairman, just looking slightly to the future, I suppose, obviously from our point of view, we're trying to make sure that the National Waste Prevention Programme complies with what's required under the New Waste Framework Directive. But we're also very much trying to forge links, if you like, with all other waste reduction, eco-design, reuse, repair projects that are happening throughout Ireland, and whether they're happening in the NGO sector, whether they're happening in SEAI or Enterprise Ireland or IDA, whatever it happens to be, we're trying to make sure these are all linked closely together so that they provide synergy, so people aren't seeing the Waste Prevention Programme project one day and an SEAI project another day and wondering how the two link together and so on. So we're just trying to make sure that all of these projects that are working on water, energy or waste conservation are linked together. We're working as hard as we can with the various prevention partners that we have to broaden, interconnect and deepen all of the current EPA projects. We're trying to get more and more businesses involved, more and more hotels involved, more and more organisations getting involved in including households. We're looking all the time to look at new prevention projects that might be out there, new partners that we can work with. As I mentioned, we just recently started working with the Reuse Network in Ireland. We're very happy to start working with them. And overall, we're trying to work as positive as we can to help the whole community and the whole economic development through waste prevention. And overall, as I mentioned earlier, waste prevention has got very little to do with waste, it's more to do with people and their behaviour. So in essence what our projects are trying to do is to enable people to help people to engage in more sustainable behaviours for a better society. So I suppose waste recycling, diversion and composting, which you'll see a lot of out here in this exhibition today, are all very good cures for what's an ill, I suppose. But waste prevention is better than cure, and in fact there's a lot of economic benefits to engaging in waste prevention. So if you need more information, there's a website putting all this together and doing